Hello, we're here with Janice Hanson, who's going to talk with us tonight about fluoridation in the water. And but I'm going to just let Janice sort of introduce herself and what she's found on this really interesting issue that I've had no idea was happening. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Janice.
My name is Janice Hanson, and I live in Kennebunk, Maine, and our water has been fluoridated since 2003. It was voted in 2002. Mm-hmm. And I became interested in it because I was taking care of my mom for the last several years of her life, and that last year when she couldn't get out of bed, I went to our dental hygienist and asked the dental hygienist what would be a good way to preserve her teeth, because she had good teeth.
Right.
And I couldn't take her for her hygiene appointments. So the dentist or the dental hygienist gave me Fluoridex, which is one of the strongest fluoride toothpastes there is, and said, use this on your mom. Mm. So I did that, but I have to admit, rinsing wasn't terrific. We just used a little tray under her chin, and that there was quite a bit of fluoride toothpaste that stayed in her mouth overnight. And so after several weeks, I noticed that her teeth turned brown, dirt brown. And then they started falling off where the fluoride was on them, and they had been exposed to fluoride for extended periods of time. The teeth just started falling off. And I was absolutely amazed. So after that, I thought, I would like to investigate fluoride, because I really didn't understand what was happening. Right. So that's how I came to study fluoride. I read all these books, and I feel that I understand the subject well now.
I'm sorry to hear the way you got started in this, but you're an activist now. I mean, I don't know if that's what you consider yourself, but that's what you're doing in my book. I'm really happy that you're bringing this to the visibility of Mainers, because I had no idea. I grew up with fluoride in the water, and we all, everyone thought it was a benefit. So tell us just a little bit more about what you found out, and we're also going to show, there's a video that you made with, I forgot the name of their company, but it'll be in the video.
Video Creations.
Yeah, Video Creations, and they're out of Kennebunk.
They're in Kennebunk,
yeah, they're in Kennebunk too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great video, and there's a link showing you a link to it that Janice made with them, and which really details a lot of, I think, most of the whole subject that you've been uncovering. And now you've tried to get it on, or you did get it on the Kennebunk on the ballot.
Yes, we had to have 3,063 signatures, and we had 3,249, and it's going to be on the ballot in November.
Excellent, excellent. And is that Kennebunk alone?
No, there are 7 towns in our water district.
Okay.
It's the second largest water district in Maine, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so we had to get petitions signed in 7 towns then.
Wow.
And so
that's a lot of work.
We did it.
Yeah.
and it was very helpful, I think, to people, because we could educate people about what we had learned while we were getting the petition signed.
So one of the things when you sent me the video that was in there showed the it's not the manufactured. It's artificially the fluoride is brought in artificially.
Yes, but there's
just a machine
there's another part to that. Yeah. There are actually 2 sources of fluoride in Kennebunkport, and Wells water.
Oh, okay.
The first is naturally occurring fluoride, which is a stable calcium fluoride salt.
Okay.
And because the fluorine is combined with calcium, that is relatively benign, especially in small quantities. It will just pass through you and will not even make too much of an impression on your bones.
Sure.
But the other form of fluoride that is being added artificially to our water to bring it up to the EPA standard that's required is hydrofluorosilicic acid, which comes from the wet scrubbing of the smokestacks of the phosphate fertilizer industry. And this is never ever found in nature because it is highly reactive. So that type of fluoride is actually looking for calcium to combine with.
Right.
So when that is ingested in your body, it heads straight for your bones, combines with the calcium, and then it weakens the bones because over time it has a bioaccumulative effect.
Right.
And then it also changes the bone's crystalline structure, making them porous.
Right. It kind of sounds like salts on metal, right? The way salt and turns it into rust, and it just sort of.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I recently had a tour of the plant at the Water District.
Yeah.
And I went through this beautiful plant with Branch Brook water flowing in and through it, and I even saw where the chlorine was added in a long trough, and the water was clear, and all that had to be done in that trough was the chlorine had to just be assimilated into the water so that it would be evenly distributed. And then I was brought to this isolated room, and what you were saying just brought this to mind because it had a thick door with a metal handle on it, and then when I went inside, the door had to be immediately closed, and I noticed that the handle on the inside was pitted. And so something corrosive had obviously attacked it.
Right.
And then as I looked around that room, I saw that there were rusted outlet plates, electrical outlet plates.
Yeah.
And actually anything in that room that was metal was rusted.
Right.
And I
terrifying.
just had an impression that
behind like a fire door, sort of a like a heavy.
Yes.
Right,
It was a situation that made me uncomfortable. The fumes were acrid in there, and I felt I had to just breathe shallowly so that I wouldn't be really breathing to the deepest part of my lungs. So that was a serious kind of experience to be in that room. And then what I also noticed in that room was that there was a panel on the far side from the door, and on the wall adjacent to that panel was shower apparatus. And so I realized that if someone were standing right directly in front of the panel, that if anything went wrong with the equipment, if there was a leak, then that person would be showered from above immediately in order to keep from having a catastrophic accident with that.
Sure.
So it's very serious, it's very toxic. And so when I finally left that room after my 10-minute visit there, I was just so glad to be out in the open air again where I could breathe deeply.
No, it's amazing. I mean, and the more I looked into it, and again, your video is incredible and details even the history, I believe.
Yes, I did cover the history.
Yeah.
It's
a fantastic
fascinating.
video, yeah. I think it's only 10 minutes, so it won't take up, but it's so well, presented, and they recorded it well that it is good, but also a little bit terrifying 10 minutes of your life because we're talking about stuff that this fluoride is accumulating in
in the pineal gland.
Yeah.
Also, if there isn't enough iodine in someone's body, fluorine is a halogen, and so is iodine. So they have the same basic structure. Fluorine is the lightest halogen, iodine is the heaviest.
Yeah.
So fluorine, if there isn't enough iodine in the body, can easily slip into the thyroid in place of the iodine. And then the thyroid really can't do its job.
Right.
It can try and even enlarge and become a goiter, but it will not be able to produce the T4 and the T3 that is necessary. Those are iodine atoms that are needed to make those.
Right.
And that is really part of your immune system. T3 circulates in your whole body and gives you immunity. And the thyroid itself has all kinds of implications, even for your brain, for the developing brain of a young child.
Yes.
The thyroid is very influential there. So to have that stopped, that process stopped, is very serious.
You brought to my attention, I'm going to grab this. I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to see it from here, but I can put it in we can have it put in that there's a warning on here.
Yes.
So you talk about that a little bit, just briefly.
On every tube of fluoridated toothpaste, there is a warning. Keep out of reach of children under 6 years of age. If more than used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact a poison control center right away. And the interesting part of ingesting fluoridated water is that if we drink 2 glasses of artificially fluoridated water,
yes,
we are getting more fluoride in those 2 glasses than in the pea-sized dot of toothpaste that we put on our toothbrush.
right.
And so if you think about what we are supposed to drink, 8-ounce glasses of water every day.
If someone's doing that, then
Perhaps we should call a poison control center.
Right. And then actually, I want to show, I'm hoping to show a graphic you sent me that shows other countries in the world and how they have begun to, I mean, over the years, they've used less and less fluoride, if not gotten it completely out of their water.
Actually, in 97% of European countries do not fluoridate. And the reason for that is that about 40 years ago, their scientists investigated fluoride, found that it was a neurotoxin. It does get into the brain, into the hippocampus, and can cause memory problems. And decided that this was dangerous for their people to be ingesting it. So therefore they stopped using it. And if any fluoride is used, because fluoride does have an effect where it can heal dental, light dental caries before it becomes real cavities. That would be just topically applied with toothpaste.
Sure.
So therefore they have stopped it, but their rates of dental decay have gone down exactly the way ours have, and they haven't been using fluoride in their water.
Just, exactly, probably just go to regular dental appointments,
Dental care.
which are probably paid for and probably free, right, with socialized licensing,
yes,
right?
Probably.
Don't get me started and going off in a whole other direction there, but yeah, that's right. So, and Maine is one of the hardest states about getting dental help if you can't afford it. But okay, so I won't go off into a tangent. We have to get going.
Yes.
But I am going to recommend the video that she's already made, and please go visit it and research for yourself. It's going to be on the ballot in Kennebunk and probably surrounding cities and burgs and southern part of Maine.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
It's going to be in Kennebunk, Port Wells, Arundel, Ogunquit, part of York, part of Biddeford.
Yeah.
So that area.
Yeah. And you could always get as much fluoride as you want out of these toothpaste tubes, right? So you don't need it in your water. You don't need it at all, probably. So.
Well, actually, the CDC stated in 1999 that The major benefits of fluoride are topical and not systemic. They've admitted that. It's been known for years.
I know, but there's an industry. Someone will lose money here, right?
Yes.
Right, okay. That's enough. Thank you so much, Janice. Okay?
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Good
It's a
luck at
pleasure.
the ballots, and we'll be back in a moment.
Hello, and thanks for inviting us here on last Friday. Great show. Grateful for being here. Today we have our guests. We're going to be talking about ranked choice voting, which is on the ballot in the state of Maine this November. And we have with us Gil and Finn. And Finn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Finn Melanson, and I serve as the education coordinator for the League of Women Voters of Maine.
And Gil?
Well, I'm Gil Harris. I'm co-chair of the Maine Green Independent Party, and I'm also an elected official in Limerick, Maine on the Budget Committee.
Well, thank you for that brief introduction for us, folks. Ranked choice voting, before we get into the details of it, I'd like to just kind of, Finn, if you could fill me in a little bit on what do we have now? What's this called now, the system that we have now?
So, most voters out there are familiar with our current system. We use what's called a winner-take-all or first-past-the-post voting system. So, as a voter in this system, you go into the voting booth and you indicate your preference for a single candidate. You're marking your ballot for a single candidate. And of course, when the votes are tallied up, the candidate with the most votes wins.
Not 51%.
Not necessarily 51%, not necessarily a majority, you just need the most votes. So in a two-way race for office, if you just have, for example, a Democrat or a Republican running, clearly one of the two is going to win with more than 50% of the vote, by definition. But if you have races with, three or more competitive candidates, the candidate with the most votes can end up winning with as little as 30% of the vote or 35% of the vote. It's happened in 9 of the last 11 elections for Maine's governor. So dating back to 1974, a majority of voters have walked into the voting booth in a gubernatorial election and not cast a ballot for the winning candidate.
Wow.
And of course, we could talk about a number of different presidential elections where this has happened too.
Yeah. And in this election, I'd like to just touch, we've got, in this presidential election, we have 4 candidates, major candidates running. A Green, a Libertarian, a Democrat, and a Republican. And it's an example of when you have to vote this way, there are people saying that if you don't vote for the Democrat or the Republican, that you're voting for the opposite person if you throw your vote away. What do you have to say about that, Gil?
Well, this gives people the opportunity to vote for the candidate of their choice and not necessarily worry about that threat of throwing your vote away or voting for the wrong candidate and ending up helping the other one. So this gives people the opportunity to really, like I say, vote for the candidate of your choice and follow the people that have the right principles. What you believe in, not what you are afraid of the other person getting into.
Yeah. And in some states, not all states vote exactly the same way the state of Maine votes. I believe Louisiana, how does that run? Is that runoff voting where they actually have another election?
Well, that's a great point. I mean, a lot of people sort of take for granted that the current way of voting in Maine, the winner-take-all format, there's sort of a belief out there that this is the way we've been doing things for all time, and that every single municipality, state, and country uses this. In fact, there are a number of different voting systems in play, not just across the country, but here in Maine. I mean, you talk about Louisiana, where they use the runoff system, but even in cities like Lewiston, Maine, they use a runoff system for their mayoral elections. They just recently used one in November of 2015.
Right.
In this system, if nobody gets a majority of the vote in the general election, the top 2 vote-getting candidates advance to a runoff election. And voters go back to the polls, they express a preference between the 2 candidates, and you get a majority winner that way. So it's interesting.
And it's also costly, isn't it, Gil? I mean,
yes.
It costs you to put in place new ballots, get the machines out, get staffing out, policing. The whole state has to come right back out and vote all over again in a week or 2 or whatever on the runoff voting is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's where the ranked choice voting comes in to be, in play. It's also known as instant runoff voting because it eliminates that need to have a whole separate election.
Yeah, and that's on the ballot as which question is that?
Question 5 to vote on in November.
In the state of Maine, question 5 for for ranked choice voting. And ranked choice voting is also called, what else?
Instant runoff.
Instant runoff voting. And by that nomenclature, that means that when you go into the ballot booth to vote, that you're voting for multiple candidates for the same position. Is that how it works, Finn?
Yeah, so really with ranked choice voting, you're doing something that you do virtually in every facet of your life. You are being asked to use your ballot to rank the candidates running for office in order of preference. So if there are 3 people running for office, you have the power and the opportunity to indicate a first, second, and third choice preference based on those candidates running.
So when you go in, whatever that position is, mayor, well, not mayor, because...
Well, question 5 is going to apply to all federal and state primary and general elections in the state of Maine. So excluding the presidency, if Mainers decide that they want to use this system, they would be using a ranked choice ballot to elect our governor, our U.S. senators, our U.S. congressmen and women, and our state legislature.
Now, is this going to work in the primaries as well when we have a primary election in the state, or you don't know?
Absolutely. So the first cycle that this would go into effect for, if it's passed in November, is the June 2018 election cycle. So if there's a party primary for governor, for example, this would go into effect. And I mean, 2018 is a fascinating year because it'll be the first gubernatorial election in which we don't have an incumbent since 2010. And if we remember 2010, there were 7 Republicans running in their party primary and 5 Democrats, and neither nominee emerged to the general election with a majority of their party's support. So you're getting a majority vote both in the primaries and in the general election, which is interesting.
Yeah. So this is going to affect the primary election, which actually, in a way, it gives you more than one choice as your first choice of who you really want to be the first candidate, the candidate that you want to be as governor, let's say, and then your second choice of, well, if that one doesn't win, then I could pick this next one, and so on down the line. So it's giving voters more choice in the ballot box.
Well, it's actually giving them a choice to vote for their, what feels right to them, as opposed to, many times you're voting for, somebody because you're afraid somebody else will win.
Yeah.
So it's it's getting rid of the voting by fear tactic and voting for your choice and whoever represents you the most.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what's going on in this presidential election right now is that there's a lot of fear mongering going on about who you're going to vote for, and if you vote for that one, you're going to be not voting for this one, and it's pretty convoluted. Finn?
Well, Gil just made a great point. This ranked choice ballot gives you the power to support your favorite candidates without the fear that doing so might split the vote and help to elect your least favorite candidates. So you made the point that we have 4 choices for president this year. But really, our current system funnels voters into thinking there's really only 2 viable choices. either a Republican or a Democrat. This system really shows you that there are 4 viable choices instead of maybe just 2 pragmatic choices. This really opens the field for a larger and more substantive debate about public policy, about what it means to run for office, and what it means to represent a majority of voters.
Because right now, people think that Democrat, Republican, 50% of the voters are Democrat and 50% are Republican, and that's not true. There's only 20, I believe the other day I heard that there's only 28% of the voting population in this country is Democrat and 28% is Republican. Now, I don't know if those are exact numbers, but that means that only 60% of the voters are being represented by those 2 parties, and what happens to the other 40% of the country?
Well, actually, there is a majority of voters that are uncommitted or independent, more so than either Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, and they don't have a primary to pick a presidential candidate in. And Maine is talking about going to a primary election instead of a caucus system in the next 4 years presidential run. So that would this have an effect on that as well? Because you said primaries.
You know, it's interesting. So, you know, hearkening back to what's at stake with the ballot question this year, this would only take effect in races for U.S. Senate and U.S. House at the federal level. It would not take effect for the presidency. I can't speak really from an informed perspective on what it would mean to reform the Electoral College in order for this to make sense in presidential elections, but there would be some sort of tinkering that would need to take place if we wanted to use ranked ballots to elect our presidents.
Well, another thing this may do, not only are the majority of voters out there independent or uncommitted, actually probably close to the majority don't even bother voting. So this may give people more of an incentive to go to the polls because they will have somebody that they can believe in to vote and not just feel they have 2 choices that don't represent any of their values.
So when I go into the booth, I'm faced with picking a candidate for Senate, let's say. And there are, let's say, 3 candidates running for that office. And those 3 candidates, I get to pick my first choice, then I get to pick in another column, I get to pick my second choice for that position, and then I get to pick my third choice for that position. Finn, could you show us how that works on the board over here?
Oh, I'd be happy to do so.
Okay, we're going to take a little break, and Finn let you get set up, and then we'll cut to you. How's that?
Perfect. Welcome back to our discussion here today on ranked choice voting. Again, my name is Finn Melanson, and I've had the opportunity over the past year to make educational presentations on ranked choice voting across the state of Maine to retirement homes, senior centers, service groups, political parties. Now, when we talk about ranked choice voting, people say, I hear the benefits. You talk about more choice and more voice. You talk about a majority rule. You talk about more positive civil issues-based elections. But how does the ballot work? And more specifically, how does the counting process work? Now, we thought that this was the perfect opportunity to show a fun and easy and accessible example of how the counting process in a ranked choice system works. Here today, we have 3 candidates running for office and 15 voters. You have the neon green candidate, you have the pink candidate, and you have the orange candidate. Now, in our current system, we discussed how you just need to have the most votes to win. You just need more votes than any other candidate running. There are 15 voters here. The neon green candidate has 6 votes, the pink candidate has 5 votes, and the orange candidate has 4 votes. Clearly, the neon green candidate has the most votes. But in a ranked choice system, that's not enough. You don't just need the most votes. You need the most votes and a majority of the vote. So in a ranked choice system, how do you get there? Pretend for a second that the votes for each of these 3 candidates represent the first choice support on everybody's ballot. So when you're going through a ranked choice ballot, you look at that first column and you're just tallying the first choice support. Now, of course, as we mentioned, the neon green candidate has the most votes, but they don't have more than 50% of the vote. So what do? Well, In this case, you eliminate the last place candidate, which is the orange candidate. And this is key, listen up. You want to see how the voters for the orange candidate marked their second choice. So when you're removing the orange candidate from contention, you want to see how their supporters expressed a preference between the neon green candidate and the pink candidate. And based on those second choice preferences, you're moving their votes. So let's do this in sort of live action. We're eliminating the orange candidate here. The first supporter of the orange candidate marked the neon green candidate as their second preference. The second voter for the orange candidate also marked the neon green candidate as their second preference. The third voter for the orange candidate marked the pink candidate as their second choice preference. And finally, the last supporter of the orange candidate marked the neon green candidate as well as their second choice preference. Now, based on these second choice preferences, we have a majority winner. Clearly, the neon green candidate was supported by more than 50% of voters. Now, people ask me, why do we do it this way? Well, supporters of ranked choice voting call this reassigning of second choices the instant runoff. Some of you viewers out there are familiar with runoff elections in states like Louisiana and cities like Lewiston, Maine. Well, supporters of ranked choice voting say we can consolidate all the benefits of a runoff election, getting a majority vote being the primary benefit, and consolidating that into a single general election. Because when we give voters the power to mark second choice preferences, and if their first choice is eliminated, we know who they prefer, in this case, either the neon green or the pink candidate, and we can get a majority winner that way. This, in essence, is how the counting process in a ranked choice system works. I hope this was informative, I hope this was clear, and I hope this really shows you the benefits of getting a majority vote in a single election. Thank you.
Well, Finn, thank you for the informative little demonstration up there. I really appreciate that. And really, one of the questions that came up to mind is that the runoff election, not the ranked choice that you were talking about, but the runoff election, when you have another election after the fact, you may have had 16,000 people show up for the first election because there were other issues on the ballot that they wanted to see. And when you have a runoff, you may only have 1,500 or 2,000 people show up. And that's another reason why this instant runoff or ranked choice voting is really a more, gives all of the voters a chance to get their say and choice of what they want to have.
Well, and I want to thank you for reminding me of that important point. I want to tell this to the voters directly. Not only is ranked choice voting the most cost-effective way to get a majority vote, but it also ensures that the most amount of voters are expressing a preference on the ultimate winner. So in states and cities that use runoff elections, we have the data available. And on average, they see a 33% reduction in voter turnout between the general election and the runoff election, which for those of us who want to see, as many voters participate as possible, that's a serious public policy concern.
Yeah, and it also goes down to where you explained that we're electing some officials, even in our state of Maine for the past 10 years or so, with under 50% of the vote, that we all run around waving our flag and saying democracy, democracy in America, and we want to export it. But when you're electing officials with under 50%, it's not quite the democracy that we were raised with in grade school. Gil?
Well, and another thing that this will do is we'll keep our candidates on a positive note, because the neon green candidate doesn't want to offend other voters that might have them for the second choice. So it can create a much more positive environment, or electoral environment.
Good point, Gil. Finn?
And I got a great story to tell. So in 2011, Portland, Maine was the first city in our state to implement this system for their mayoral elections. And our organization had a chance to sit down with Michael Brennan, who won the election. And he said that this system fundamentally changed the way that he interacted with voters. So, for example, he told us how he'd be going door to door talking with voters. And he would see some of his opponent's lawn signs in people's yards. Now, this is kind of funky. When you see an opponent's lawn sign in somebody's yard in our current system, that's a clear sign that they've already made up their mind. But because voters have that ranked choice ballot, he had to reach out to voters for first, second, and third choice support. So he had to go knock on that door to see where they could find common ground, to see where they could find compromise. Because if he didn't do that, he wasn't going to get the support he needed to get a majority. So it taught him to reach out to a broader base of voters than he normally would, and it prepared him for the realities of divided government. Because when the dust has settled and it's time to govern, you're going to be working with people, whether it's the city council or the legislature or Congress, who fundamentally disagree with you on a whole host of issues. This system of campaigning prepared him for that kind of deliberation.
And it not only prepared him, but it prepared that voter with knowing who that other candidate, what his views were on issues that they wouldn't have normally found out because he wouldn't have knocked on the door because they were voting for someone else. But this way, it forces all the candidates to knock on all the doors and make their presence on all the issues that are pertinent to that voter known by the voter.
You really got to earn votes in this system.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is that, that I've heard is many people are just a little bit confused by, by this ranked choice voting. It's something new. They're not used to it. It's a whole new process. I know there were a number of us gathering signatures to get this initiative on the ballot. And I think I spent more time explaining the process than I did gathering signatures, just because people were, not understanding what was going on with it. So one of our goals now is to, give some simple examples of how this works and let people know what it's all about. One of the things that's going on interestingly in this education process is that across the state, there are a number of brew pubs that are sponsoring a ranked choice voting test, and you can go and rank your choice of beers. And so I think what a fun way to get educated in this process, and have a designated driver if you're going to do a lot of voting. But and then there's another in the Shakopee Valley. We're doing something similar with ice cream. So it's a good way of understanding the process. It's not just a very dry political discussion, but it's a process that it's going to give us more input into the political process. And it's going to let the political process know more of what the people are actually feeling.
And that's why we're here today, folks, is we want to allay your fears. We want to educate you, inform you, and tell you really that this is an important issue, and it's going to give you more choice and take away this, give you more choice and more democracy, and take away this idea that you can get elected with 40-some-odd% of the vote in this state. I'd like to talk about what kind of candidates this actually covers, and it's U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives. So when we send someone to the U.S. Senate from Maine or U.S. House of Representatives from Maine, these are the folks that are going to fall under the ranked choice voting law. And also it covers Maine state senators and Maine state representatives that we send up to Augusta to represent us as voters. And it's giving, it's putting a person in with a mandate almost with this 50% of the vote. Would you like to?
Well, it also covers the governor too, so.
Oh, and the governor as well. So we want to make sure that
whoever goes and represents us will have 50% or more of the support of the voters.
And, if the chaos and turmoil in Augusta has taught us anything, it's that we need to change the way that we elect our leaders.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that crosses party lines. This isn't a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not an independent issue. This is about getting a majority vote. It's about more choice and more voice. It's about not having to settle for the lesser of two evils. It's about more positive campaigns. It's that simple.
And with that note, I'd like to say thank you for watching, and I hope this helps you in the election in November. Please get out and vote. It's your right. It's your responsibility. Thank you for watching again. Gil, thank you. Finn, thank you for coming today and letting us, everybody,
Well,
know.
thanks for giving us the opportunity.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Bud,
Good to see you,
great
William.
to see you.
Okay, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. So I am Will Hessian, and I'm so excited to be here with Bud Swenson, an artist, and we're going to get a chance to look at some of Bud's work in his studio spaces, which are multiple. So come join us. Lead the way.
Well, here's, I don't know if we'd call this a studio space, but I have some paintings hanging up here that I probably did about 10 years ago out in the
Beautiful.
backyard.
I see lots of layers going on.
There's a lot of paint on these.
Pretty thick. And is that spray paint on the outermost?
And yeah, the outermost is a spray paint.
Beautiful.
But it's mostly, well, I mix, sometimes I mix oil and acrylic paints together.
Almost looks thick enough to be house paint.
It is. It's pretty much house paint.
Yeah, wow.
I do a lot with house paints.
Really very cool. And you build all your own frames and things like that?
Yeah, I do all my own.
Because that seems pretty custom as well. Awesome, well let's keep going.
So this is really part of my abstract expressionist series, I guess, which was my earliest influence, were the abstract expressionists.
And do you have a specific artist from that era that was
No, not really.
kind of the whole...
A lot of them.
Yeah.
If I name one, I'm going to leave somebody out, and there's a lot of them. But the whole abstract, the 50s, the whole period was
a lot of
big,
exciting
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
happening. And some of the, and I got to see that Commissioned by God works.
This was the show that was at the UMVA Gallery
Yeah.
in Portland in May, right? The month of May.
Correct. The
And so all of these works are made from the Bible.
yeah, and so
I
this
think you know that, yeah.
definitely, and this is one of the. I mean, this was a controversial show, and depending on what people, how they responded to it, could either maybe offend them, upset them, excite them.
I didn't get an awful lot of feedback myself.
People are scared to
bring it up?
bring it up. I mean, religion's a difficult topic, and
Right.
but I mean, I
right.
think visually they're beautiful sculptures. Well, what was your reasoning behind the show, or what is your artist statement per se of that kind of body of work?
Well, there's several.
I'm very curious to know. You got, oh nice.
This is a little booklet I made up, and I guess my favorite quote out of here is that we are all victims of the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on mankind, the mythology of a deity watching over this glorious, muddled cosmology. Free thinkers out of the closet. So, yeah, I look at religion as mythology. And I think we should be able to get past the mythology and not believe it as truth. And, Romans had many gods, Greeks had many gods. They don't believe in that many gods anymore. So Christianity came up with one God, which is still a myth, as far as I'm concerned.
It's just
So
a story.
it's a good story. It's an interesting story, but it's still a story.
And how many people have died and
Yeah.
because of it, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
you know,
that's,
it's like,
yeah. Religion causes a lot of problems. I mean, look at the wars in the world today.
yeah.
It's a lot of it has to do with religion.
So to kind of like this work, also the first work I ever saw of yours was on Peaks Island, in one of the shows there, and it was I don't remember.
Were these pieces?
Yeah, were they these?
The
And that's
collages
of Bible
of
passages.
Bibles. That was my confirmation Bible. These pieces were the first works that I did, and they're small collages that I made for my confirmation Bible.
Yeah.
So, and that show was originally going to be at the Kennebunk Free Library, but we had some difficulties, so it was canceled. I canceled it, actually.
Was it difficulties because of the content?
Yeah, and I was going through some very personal things with my family at the time, and they're all fundamentalists. So
That makes it tough. Yeah.
it makes it tough to.
Well, has that been a barrier for you with your family to go into that kind of body of work and that kind of subject matter when it's?
Well, let's say they don't talk to me anymore.
So
It gets very personal. But an interesting thing was I was at a yard sale this morning in Kennebunk here, and this woman said to me, "Are you from Kennebunk?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Bud Swenson." She said, "You did the Bible collages."
wow. So your work precedes you in a lot
That
of
was
ways.
interesting. And she said, "I'm a fundamentalist Christian," and then proselytized. Both her and her husband. They were very nice, and I think they, enjoyed our conversation. They just don't understand how anybody could be an atheist, how anybody could not. I think they were hedging their bets, just in case.
Yeah, well,
I
think there's a
So-
safety there if you grow up with that feeling like if that's your safety nest.
Yeah.
Then it's
So,
hard
and
to
he asked
pop
me
it.
if I follow the Ten Commandments, and I said I try. We're not perfect.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I mean, being an atheist doesn't mean you worship the devil or do demonic work.
Yeah, or you're some
It's,
deviant or something.
Yeah, right. So it was interesting to talk to him.
Well, so that's one of the things that I really respect about your work is that you're willing to go into uncomfortable areas and push those boundaries.
Yeah. And I've had some second thoughts about this. I mean, I didn't just enter into this with a cavalier attitude
True.
about pissing people off.
I think you wanted to start discussions, though. I think
Yeah,
you're more-
that's a lot of it. That's a lot of it.
You
is
wanna-
you want to have, yeah. And I believe in the power of art. I think art, well, for me, all art is political. And certainly religion is part of politics.
It's true.
Hello, welcome back. I am here with Lisa Willey, and Lisa works as a coordinator at Common Ground Fair.
Yes, I'm an area coordinator.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the Common Ground Fair, your work there, and we're going to have to go into the Green Party thing too. So we'll talk a little bit about that because we've got the election coming up.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so let's talk about this Common Ground Fair thing.
Well, the Common Ground Fair is a really big agricultural fair in Unity, Maine, every September. It's a 3-day fair, and I'm an area coordinator in the compost and recycling area.
Right. We met before, and before that, but I came down last fall and was able to help out in that great center. Is like an army down there. If you haven't seen it, the next time you go to Common Ground Fair, you gotta find out what they're doing down there, because it is the story that is being missed on the Common Ground Fair.
Right.
Common Ground Fair is great. I mean, all over. I love it. For various reasons. But when I showed up there and my friend Jackie brought me down, I was like, why have I not heard of this? Why have I not heard that what's the percentage of recycle?
Well, so for example, last year we had record numbers. We had 65,000 people come to the fair in 3 days. So that's huge for Maine. So we are able to either compost or recycle about, it's usually about 3/4 or 85% of the material at the fair.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the like plateware.
Yeah.
The things that I didn't even know came in recyclable form.
Right. The vendors are required to have compostable dinnerware.
Yeah, that's
So if we can't compost it, we can recycle it most of the time.
yeah.
So yeah.
We have to find out what
really
that's
exciting.
got to be a record, because I don't it's not that I'm get out to hear about everything that goes on, but I've never heard of that that amount of recycling. Even I've never even heard about anyone trying to recycle
Right.
at any fairs, any get-togethers, any musical fairs or what have
Right.
you. So
Well, it does. I mean, it happens to some degree, but I think in Maine we have the biggest as far as like trying to compost and recycle. Our biggest issue, though, that I'm hoping people will bring their own coffee mugs, travel mugs, because that's kind of, since we started allowing the sale of coffee at the fair, our biggest issue is
too many
coffee cups in the compost, trying to compost them or whatever.
Right.
So
When is the fair coming up this time?
it is always the third weekend after Labor Day, and
After Labor Day. Well,
I can't guarantee the date. It's
Yeah.
usually right around the solstice, so it's like the 19, 20, 21 of
Right.
September. So
right.
we will have to check on that
Okay,
for
good,
sure.
good.
We have an excellent Facebook page called, it's long.
Oh,
It's the Common Ground Country Fair Compost and Recycling Tent. It's long.
Common Ground Country Fair.
Compost and Recycling Tent.
I will get that.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that gets up on the
Yes,
screen.
we have everything about that area, pictures of what we do. And I've been trying to make it more of an education center too. So we have talks, hay bale talks, we have compost parade, we have lots of things going on. William Hessian does an art hunt for us every year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really good.
He's doing an art segment on this show now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent, yeah.
He's called the Canvas Killer. Have you
Yes,
ever heard that?
yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
getting out of the shower one day or something, and out of nowhere, I was like, dangerous art with the Canvas Killer. So that's his segment on the show.
Oh,
from
good,
now
yeah.
on. And he's actually taping the first segment tomorrow.
Oh,
So,
good.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
that
really
would be
excited
great.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's really great. And just in our discussion before hitting record, you might even come and help us with the show. And
I would love to.
That would be so great.
I would
Oh my
really.
God.
I think it's so great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's very clever.
Yeah.
Last
Well,
Friday,
thank
and I
you.
just like the idea of having a local place for that. So
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
to help.
Oh, that's good. And we'll get over to the school, get some people volunteers. If I can get a nice sponsor, like a good local business, responsible local business that would sponsor us and whatever, buy us a couple of pizzas or something, wouldn't that? I mean, it would be helpful to have people come in, we at least get some dinner and just because we're an all volunteer show. And,
But bring real plates.
and bring we have real plates and silver. We're usually doing, it's the last thing we're doing is we're doing our dishes when we leave. It's so funny. And
Okay.
vacuuming and stuff. It's funny.
Good.
love
I
it,
like to
though.
hear that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. And let me think. So, you're a Green Party member.
I am.
Yeah.
I am a Green Party member. I started. I'm also a full-time student at USM.
Yeah.
So last fall we started USM Greens. As a group, we had Jill Stein on campus, and we're hoping to help host that event again in September.
So who will you vote for? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. But is there anyone else to vote for? So
Right, exactly. It's Jill Stein all the way.
I don't know. In a normal world, one of those candidates would be assassinated, and the other one would go to jail. That would be in a normal world. But it's like that. What is that saying? Is if you're not.
You're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Yeah, that's
what
definitely
you're
one of the
thinking?
saying. Yeah, but I was thinking about the if you're not depressed or anxious in a world as violent and as backward as this, then
Right.
there's something wrong with
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Which is why we should all be seeing therapists just to get through get through this madness. But that's the time of year, or whatever. That's the time of every fourth year, and
Yeah.
everything. I don't know. There's not a lot of people that watch corporate television amongst a crowd that you and I kind of are
right.
about.
Yeah.
And artists and activists. Not many, but the majority of Americans watch that stuff, and some of them swear by it and believe
Right.
it.
Well, I
and-
think there's people are like encouraging fear. So some of that is encouraging people to be afraid of things that maybe it's not the case.
You're right.
You know.
Right. Oh, definitely.
Right.
They sell the fear for sure.
Yeah.
But that's what we're trying to do here is put out a responsible media and local media. So the point being to all of that is you can't vote for those corporate. You can't. I mean, it's horrible.
Well, I
You
think
can't-
that's one of the things. Here's a Green Party plug.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I always liked about the Green Party was that there's no corporate money involved. That's all. There's just there's no money like that. So that's my biggest.
That's a
the
huge
biggest
draw.
thing. Clean
Yeah.
elections, that sort of thing. So.
No, that's a huge draw for me
Yeah.
too. So, and I'm not necessarily a green. I'm in, I'm trying to be.
greenish.
I'm trying to be a journalist and be in the,
Right.
But trust me,
Nonpartisan.
when Hillary Clinton is to the right of Ronald Reagan. So, and I was alive during the Reagan years, and you know what I mean. So, this country, as much as they try to swear up and down that it's getting all liberal, and you know what, it's not. It's still going left. It's still based in war. It's still, so that's what I really enjoy about the Green Party's platform is that, and definitely the non-corporate, no big money involved, and so there's only one person to vote for. It's just,
Right.
I wouldn't even have
obvious to
someone
some
on
of
here
us.
to debate it. It's not worth debating to me.
Right.
So it's, but anyway, get out there
Agreed.
and learn about Jill Stein and the Green Party platform for sure. What else?
Vote.
Yeah,
I mean,
and vote. Oh God.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, vote. We definitely don't want the. I will not even say his name. So.
No.
we don't-
And I think it's important that people learn about issues on their own, like do some research all over the place.
Yeah.
Don't just stick to your one area, like whatever, wherever
Right.
you get your news or information from, like
Right.
get it from everywhere
Yeah.
and make a informed decision.
Yeah. And we'll be. and
Whatever it is.
We will be talking about ranked choice voting on this. I think on this episode. So we'll. I don't know. If you haven't noticed, we're all like very casual, and because Lisa was so good to come down on a just whatever, talked about it last night. And because thank you so much. And
Oh,
she's
gosh,
well,
yeah.
actually, what are
Yes.
you doing out in the marsh? What are you doing out in the marsh?
Well, I work for Casco Bay Estuary Partnership, which is located at USM. It's not part of USM, but and we do monitoring when a tidal restriction, such as a dam, has been removed.
Okay.
We monitor for 5 years after.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's what I do.
It's time to go because the air conditioning just popped on, and that's the sign.
Phew,
It's
I
time
was
to
getting a
go.
little
There we go. All
overheated.
right, Lisa, thank you so much, and,
Thank you,
welcome,
Brian.
welcome
Good
aboard.
luck with
Yeah.
the show.
You're going to be interviewing the next person.
Okay.
No, yeah, all right, good.
These memories undoubtedly will fade away and be replaced. But I'm carrying with me everything I've learned from you. Grew and grew. As long as I'm alive, I won't regret a single moment shared with you.